Let's make lemonade. Okay. Let's go to work.
That's the signal! Go! Six! It's beautiful! Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
Start your day with a jolt of energy and no-holds-barred opinions. This is The Rush, where Travis Justice and Ross Peterson bring you bold, unfiltered, and uncensored takes on sports, life, and everything in between. Buckle up and let's go.
It is the Rush Radio Show as we are going international today. Good to have you along. If you're listening on the stream, it's good to have you there and at therushradio.com. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a like, and also leave a comment if you want to, and set up those notifications so you know when we go live. And you can follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Travis Justice. He is Ross Peterson. Hello there, buddy.
What's up, bud? How you doing?
Good. The bells for noontime are now going off in the at the Duomo. So if you can hear the bells in the background, that is what you hear. So, can you hear them?
We barely heard that.
Yes.
I did through my headphones. I don't know if anybody else did through the stream or not, but yeah, I did hear a little. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so they go off every hour, and they start. The good thing is they don't go all night. They only start at like 7 o'clock in the morning, so you're not getting bells at like 4 in the morning.
God,
ding,
that
ding,
would be
ding,
annoying.
Ding. That would be annoying because I'm literally less than 100 yards away from the Duomo, and so that would be very loud if they started the bells early.
What's the Duomo?
So the Duomo is Brunelleschi's Duomo, and if you do a search of it, it's one of the most it's a marvel of the world, right? Because it was the first like domed cathedral that was made, and it's all made out of masonry, and so it took it took several centuries to get this whole thing built over time. It's one of the largest churches I've ever been in, and Anjanette and I were standing out in front of it last night, ironically. And she just looked at me. She goes, "This never gets old, does it?" I said, "It doesn't. It's really one of those things where you just look at it and marvel and wonder, and you're like, people go, why do you keep going back time and time and time again?" And I'm like, I could just sit here and look at this for the rest of my life and be happy, just because it's just you look at the architecture, you look at what it took to put this thing together, and you couldn't build this today. You couldn't build it the way it is constructed. And probably not with the ornateness that is there or the stone that is there, because it would be cost prohibitive, right? You could not build something like that. And if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, I put a picture out this morning, the view outside my hotel window, and you can see the Duomo. And it's I'm 100 yards from it. My plan today was actually to be on a rooftop and have that in the background. But I was WhatsApping with people. I don't know if you've used the WhatsApp.
Yes, I have.
It's big over here in Europe. And trying to explain doing a radio show and needing Wi-Fi over WhatsApp is a very hard thing to do with Italians. So I have a meeting today at 5 o'clock. I'm going to try to find a place for Wednesday and Thursday where I can go on a rooftop, be outside, and have that in the background.
Oh, that will be incredible.
Yes, that would. But right now I'm in my hotel room, and so I had to go over. I went over to the lady. I said, "I'm going to be kind of loud. I'm a loud talker, and I'm going to be doing my radio show." She goes, "No problem.
It's okay, the middle of the day too, so you're good with that.
Yeah, it is. It's noon because they don't spring forward here.
Smart.
So yeah, last week we were 7 hours behind. Now we're just 6 hours behind. So that's good. That's good.
So you touched on something there that I do get a lot, especially when you're gone. I have a lot of people when I'm chatting with about you. They'll be like, I love Trav. I don't understand. He goes to the same place every time.
Every time. Listen, how many people do you know that have a place at Okoboji? How many people do you know have a place in the Ozarks? You go to the same place all the time. I've got this down to a science. I've got it down to a really affordable science. And I like coming here. And the hardest part about Europe is not the cost. A lot of people will think it is. The hardest part about getting to Europe is the 8-hour plane ride, because that's a heavy load to get here. I'll be fully transparent with everybody. My wife and I are here from the 7th through the 18th, and we got flights, hotel, breakfast every morning for $1,500 a person. You can't go to New York for 12 days at $1,500 a person. You can't go to Phoenix for 12 days at $1,500 a person. And my hotel room is great. Is it a 5-star? No, it's a 3-star hotel. I get breakfast every morning. They just give me vouchers to 2 restaurants around town. It's wonderful. You just got to make the time commitment.
Love it. Travis, I don't tell people the number because I used to tell people, yeah, he does this trip for like $1,500 a person. And then too many people were like, shut up. You can't fly to Europe for that. I'm like, okay, so now I just tell people, you won't believe how much money he spends going to there. And they go, oh, it's that much. And I go, no, it's that little.
It's that little. Now, you have to be a little bit flexible. So when we got on our plane on Thursday, I didn't have assigned seats, right? So I got to the airport, I got my assigned seat. I was in the very last row of the plane. That doesn't bother me. I knew I had an hour and a half in Chicago. We were fine. I had to get my seat when we got to Lufthansa to get our flight to Munich, and we were in the very last row of the plane. Again, doesn't bother me. My wife and I sat by each other. We didn't have any problems. It was fine. Now, if I was bringing a larger group where we all wanted to be sitting together, that changes the game a little bit. But I'm to the point in my life where I can be a little bit flexible, and I'm able to do it. Listen, I could not do this as much as I do if I didn't find a way to do it on the cheap. And you know me, I'm kind of cheap. So, but I've been to New York. I've been to Los Angeles. You go to Nashville today. Nashville's going to cost you $1,000 a day. You know,
what's happening in the background now? Is there a traffic jam outside?
That is an ambulance going by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I'm literally in the city center. I mean, this is the hub of activity. Over the weekend, there was probably, 500,000-600,000 people in town. And it's spring break in a lot of places, so a lot of people are coming into the city. So it's just, you're going to hear weird sirens. You might hear some bells. You're going to hear a lot of different things on today's show. Just
we feel like we're along with you, man. That's all. We feel like we're there with you. This is, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it so much.
I'll document. I wasn't sure if I should put a lot of these photos that I'm taking on our Twitter and Instagram page, but I'm like, people should probably see it. And I love help. I get emails from listeners all the time saying, hey, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to Italy. Can you help me out? So I try to point them in the right direction and just have a little bit of, if they need help lining stuff up, I can do that. If they just want to know where to go, I can help that. But yeah, it's been a good trip so far. I went to, on Saturday. No, was it Saturday or Friday? I'm trying to decide what day it was. No, it was Saturday. So I met up with my buddy Anthony. Anthony Frevaletti is a wine broker who works.
He's Italian.
Yeah, he is Italian, but he's from Chicago. So he's got an incredible story, and just an absolute incredible. His biological dad, I hope I'm not getting in trouble for saying this, was actually a mobster, and so him and Willie Farrell would get along. Willie Farrell would love Anthony Frevaletti, and Anthony's father, his biological father, was killed by the mob. So him and his mom were on the run all the time. His mom was like a lounge singer and an actress and had like bit parts. She was in Ace Ventura. She was in Truman Show. So he has all these stories of like basically his mom, being a singer and being an actress and hanging out with like really famous people. But he's into the wine game, right? So we go out to this winery. We were going to take the train out there. They were on strike on Saturday. So right before we get on,
who was on strike?
The train operators.
Okay.
So they decide when they want to take it. It's kind of confusing because it's a socialist system over here. So right before we're supposed to get on the train to go to where he's going to pick us up, they canceled our train, and we're like, oh. So Anjanette gets in line to get a refund. There were 135 people ahead of us. They said, take a number. And I go, you know what? It's €7 for both of us. I don't need a refund on €7 to wait. So I said, well, let's take an Uber out there. Oh, buddy. To go 24 miles was €100.
Oh.
€100. But it was worth it because we got out there. We probably spent 8 hours out there, right? Because we had the whole vineyard to ourselves. And we just started drinking wine, and it's Podera and Salma it's a beautiful little location. If you want to do horseback riding, they have horseback riding there, but it's out of season. So, but a tour comes through. And so we're just sitting there getting smashed. I'm like 4 bottles in. I mean, you got to remember, I have not had anything to drink since like March. Seriously, had anything to drink since March. I've had a couple of vodka sodas and stuff like that, but because of the weight loss plan that I'm on, alcohol is kind of a no-no, especially red wine. But I'm like, you know what? When in Rome, you start having a little bit of fun. So I'm like 4 bottles in, right? And this tour's been here, and they're like, and they're wrapping up. We haven't talked to them at all. Haven't said a word to them. And all of a sudden, their wine guide says, "Hey, where are you guys from?" I said, "You wouldn't know." "Well, we're from Nebraska." And the group goes, "We're from Nebraska." I said, "What?" I go, "Well, I live in Omaha." They go, "Well, I live in Lincoln." And I go, and the other couple goes, "Well, we lived in Lincoln, but we moved to Nashville." I go, "Well, why were you in Lincoln?" He goes, "Well, we started all the Raising Cane's in Nebraska and Iowa." Yes. So
first of all, thank you. That's the first thing you say to them is thank you.
So they owned every Raising Cane's from North Platte, Nebraska to Davenport. Okay, so they just sold that business, and they moved to Nashville, and they're going to start a construction company. I said, "Well, I work in construction in my real job." And he goes, "Oh, what construction company?" I said, "MCL Construction out of Omaha." He goes, "Tony Fuccinero?" I go, "He's my boss." "Yeah, he's in my Young Professionals Club. I was just in Columbia last week with him." So my bosses...
The world is this small.
You're just sitting there going, holy cow, how does this happen in the middle of Tuscany at this vineyard? And it gets even more bizarre. The couple they're with, they go, "Fuccinero, Monsignor Fuccinero?" I go, "That's Tony's uncle." "Well, he was our Monsignor at Pius." And I'm like, okay, this world is just way too small. And it shows you, whenever you're with somebody, you should probably reach out to them and say, "Hey, where are you from?" Because that degree of connectivity is
unreal.
It is unreal.
Travis, whenever I hear these stories, do you remember the movie Hot Shots? It was like a mock of Top Gun. It was Charlie Sheen.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes.
There's this amazing scene in it when they're in the barracks and the one guy's like, "Hey, your last name's Justice? I had some cousins with the last name Justice." And they're like, "Oh, no, wait, Travis and Ann Jeanette? Oh, that was my aunt and uncle." And then the other guy's like, "Wait a minute, are you talking about Travis and Ann Jeanette from Omaha, Nebraska?" And they're like, "Yeah." And the third guy like, "Wait a minute, you know them too?" And they're like, "Yeah, I used to go party with them all the time at Eagle River." And the entire barracks goes, "Eagle River?" So as soon as I hear those stories, all I hear in my head is, "Eagle River? No way." Travis, also, why you reach out to people, it's that birthday paradox thing. We have way more in common than we'd ever would believe.
Yes, very much so. So we had so much fun on Saturday. Anthony calls me and goes, "Hey, do you want to go to the coast?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Let's," I go, "We got nothing planned on Sunday. We'll go to the coast." We don't go to the coast that often. But it was about almost a 2-hour and 45-minute drive to get there because we had to go through the country. And then we spent the day on the coast, and it was great. We're coming back, and Ross pops into my head. Because, you're in a car for so long. And I go, "What do you do, Anthony? Your wife and daughter are still in Puerto Rico." His wife's Puerto Rican. And so when COVID hit, they had to leave Italy and move back to Puerto Rico. He's back here selling wine. He goes, I get in bed and I start watching this podcast. And I'm like, "Okay, that's great. What podcast is it?" He goes, "It's the Y-Files." And I'm like, "I've never heard of it." Well, he goes down a rabbit hole, and I'm in the front seat, and I'm like, okay, I wish Ross was here. Because I learned very quickly that Ross and Anthony would have had a great conversation about the Y-Files. I'm not a Y-Files guy. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy. I don't buy into all this stuff. Now, my wife was eating it up. She perks up in the back. She like sticks her head in the front, and she's like, "Oh yeah," having these conversations about the moon being hollow and these ancient civilizations that were 12 million years ago. And
the Anunnaki, man, come on.
My whole ride up, I'm like, Ross Peterson would be in heaven right now. He would be in absolute heaven having just a debate about whether this stuff is true.
Oh, not debate. We'd have had a conversation because I also subscribe to the Y-Files.
Unbelievable.
It is it's like there's conspiracy theories and then there's like conspiracy theories. And this guy lives in that world. He's way, way, way out there. But it's fun. It's not. Remember Art Bell and George Norrie and and Coast to Coast?
Yes.
And you have people that would call in and like, I stepped into my three-way mirror and it led me to another dimension. That's the type of stuff you get on Y-Files. It's not like, hey, the Epstein list, we haven't seen that. Hey, this insider trading that happens in Congress. Those are like surface level conspiracy theories. Then there's like, the Anunnaki and
I never heard that word till yesterday. And now I've heard it more in the last 12 hours than I've ever heard it in my entire life. I don't even know what the Anunnaki is.
Yeah.
I'm taking it's a different race, a different civilization.
Yeah. Basically, we work for them, Travis. They planted us here. I won't even get into it. It's such, but yeah, there's some wild conspiracies.
Does this make me believe that Scientology is real? Is Scientology like real because of these people?
Well, I mean, Scientology is a real thing. What they believe is crazy. Scientologists, well, again, I'm sure there's an episode of the Y-Files that would make you go, well, wait a minute. Maybe there is a civilization living under the ice caps in Antarctica.
What was that cult that went like total Jim Jones about 15 years ago where they had their shoes? You remember?
Heaven's Gate.
They were all Heaven's Gate was like waiting for the spaceship to pick them up. Is that
Heaven's Gate?
What we're talking about here?
They wore their black and white Nikes.
It's like, hey, Air Jordan's here. We got our Air Jordans on.
Heaven's Gate was the name of that. There was a comet that was flying by, and they believed that in the tail of that comet existed a spaceship, and that as that comet flew by, that spaceship was going to call people that were believers home. But the only way they would call them home is if they committed suicide laying on their backs wearing their black and white Nikes.
And Mike is pointing out that was 1998, Travis. Okay, not a couple years ago. To me, that's a couple years ago. That's how fast time is going. Okay, it flies right on by.
Heaven's Gate was 1998.
That's what Mike is saying.
Wow.
And now we're finding out a lot of our listeners and viewers are very much conspiracy theorists because Chris says, Ross, keep your eyes out for a documentary called The Age of Disclosure. This will be right up your alley. So there you go, Ross. The Age of Disclosure. Put that on your list for documentaries.
I'll do that.
To watch.
I also, so I'll tell you about my Saturday as well, and we'll end it with this because Trevor asked, hey, Ross, did you ever return your laptop?
Yes. I'm sitting here 3,000 miles away from you, and I'm all worried because the iHeart police are coming after you. The iHeart police are coming after you.
I'm not too worried about that because I don't think they paid their bill for the police department either, so I don't think that I have to worry about them coming after me.
You got that douchebag Ken Miller stabbing you in the back.
Unbelievable, dude.
It's unbelievable.
Get this. Saturday. Let me tell you about my bizarre Saturday because we could have had the thing of who had the most bizarre Saturday. I had an awesome Saturday. Took Eli over to wrestling over in Riverside, and coming home from that wrestling tournament, get a text from our buddy Brooks Reynolds, and it's a poster of a wrestling event that's going to be happening Saturday night. Bill Blank's son is a professional wrestler, and he's the champion of this absolute wrestling league. Okay, and Bill's son is wrestling down at the hall on Saturday night. Brooks is like, "Come join me." So, man, I can't. It's a date night. Taking Courtney out, can't do that. And he's like, "Bring her." And I didn't even respond. I was like, "Professional wrestling on a date night? I'll pass." So I went, picked up Courtney. We're gonna go to the Big Steer for dinner. Pull into Big Steer. She runs in. She comes out. She's like, "It's an hour-long wait. Can we go someplace else?" I'm like, "Absolutely." I said, "Actually, I've got this weird opportunity for us." Courtney's amazing. She's like, "Let's do it." I'm like, "It's a professional wrestling." She's like, "Yes, I'm in. Let's go." So we went down to G-Migs, had dinner at G-Migs, and then went to the hall to watch Jackson King defend his title. Travis, I had so much fun. It was
I was getting like text messages like 4 a.m. from Brooks, like with you got this belt around your, and like Ross is wearing the championship belt. He's like, yeah.
Made me feel bigger and badder. We walked into this place. Courtney's so awesome, man. We walk into the arena, and we're 5 feet in, and she turns around with the biggest grin on her face and says, "This is amazing." And we did have a blast. At one point, she said the most awesome thing to me, and that was when Jackson got in there, and he's flying around the ring. He's super acrobatic and athletic. And the crowd's cheering for him. There's little kids chanting his name. And Courtney looks at me and she says, "He is living every little boy's dream." And it like hit me like, yeah. I mean, I was never like, oh, I want to be a professional wrestler. But there was something about that when she said that was like, yeah, I'm like looking around going, yeah, that's exactly what this is. It was fun, dude. So they even gave us a shout out in the ring. Guy gets up there and he's like, "Hey, we got a celebrity in the house tonight. Ross Peterson." Nobody knew who I was. People were like, who?
That's why I never like shout outs in public, because if you don't know who we are, then it's like, oh, nobody listens to us.
Well, Brooks is like, I'm becoming your pimp. I'm going to start pimping you out. We're doing this thing. And so Brooks actually he knew the promoter, because of course he did, right? So
Brooks knows everybody.
So the promoter goes up there, gives me a shout out, and then he comes back off the stage and he's like, "Hey, you having a good time?" I said, "This is awesome." He says, "Next time we come, maybe we should try to get you in the ring."
Oh.
So we better start swelling up.
See, we can fix it to where you look good. I mean, it is rigged, so we can just come up with a storyline to where you kick a little ass.
Yeah. Kick a little. Here's what I want. I want my storyline to be where I'm getting my ass kicked and Bill Blank jumps in the ring and saves me.
Yes.
That's what I think would be the better.
Against his son. He kicks his son's ass.
He does the heel turn on his son?
Yes. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Do that. Bill.
I think that would be super cool. It creates a storyline.
Oh, that's great.
So, did you return your laptop?
So then I get home. It's late Saturday night. I get home and I've got an email from the old employer. "Please return our equipment. You still have a laptop that's been issued to you that you haven't returned." Bullshit. No, that's not true. The day you guys fired me, I packed up all my stuff and brought it back. Couldn't get it back there fast enough.
I remember this day. Because I'm like, hold on to it for a little bit. Yeah, I'm the other guy. I'm like, "Ross, hold on to that stuff. If they don't know you have it, they don't know you have it. You got a really good electro voice microphone."
Well, it turns out they didn't know I had it because they have no idea what I had. So I replied back. I'm like, "Hey, I never received a laptop ever from you guys. What is this about?" Well, I've received, dude, it's been amazing, some of the stuff I've learned since then. They probably did issue me a laptop. I just never got it.
Oh, you mean issue a laptop, then we can say they had it, and then we can charge them for it.
I don't know if that's what the game that is being played, but I'm saving messages. I'll tell you that much.
Wow.
Because I did receive some stuff that was like, "Hey, by the way, you probably did get issued one. It just was never delivered to you." Because I was given those instructions to do that exact same thing from the exact same employer.
Unbelievable.
Dude, unbelievable. The more unbelievable part is, I was fired.
You were not laid off.
And I thought I had a lot of friends in that building. I thought that people there liked me. I thought that the people that were there at the station still were my buddies. Boy, I'm learning that ain't the case. Holy cow. Travis, all things done in the dark come to light, right?
Yep.
All things done in the dark come to light. And I don't understand. Like, I don't talk bad about people. I never do. I don't.
What's my biggest criticism of you to your face?
Yeah, you do. You get mad at me for loving people too much and not being cynical enough. And then sometimes you pick on me for being too cynical, which I get, and I love it. But man, dude, like saying stuff about me because after I got fired, the people that I thought were supposed to be my buddies and, told me to my face they liked me. Boy, I found out behind my back they did not.
Not once you start your own radio show, which are we competition? I don't know. We do our own radio show every day. It's a different style of radio show. It's a streaming radio show. It's a YouTube radio show. And they get upset because we go and offer value to our advertisers and say, hey,
I'll tell you, I found this out. They do think very highly of our sponsor, Willis Automotive. It's nice that they think so highly of Willis Automotive.
Yes,
because they were real impressed that we had Willis Automotive as our sponsor. So Jason and the crew over there, thank you guys so much because it's amazing. Now, I've used Willis for services. Hell, I just got my oil changed there on Friday. Gonna get a car detail later. Gonna get a car detail from them. I can't afford the $150,000 Escalade that I drove around, or the what was it? The
what was the comment that was made by your old coworkers? They can't even afford Willis cars.
They can't even afford a car from Willis. How would they? Yes. How'd they get them as a sponsor?
Yeah, that was so. Everybody's asking on the chat. We're giving you the story. You just got to put the names with it. Ross knows that I would go like full nuclear but I'm trying to be nice. And again, we're here every day at 6 o'clock doing the show that we've been doing for the last 15 years, and we're going to keep doing it because we enjoy doing it. Don't forget, you can always listen to the show at therushradio.com. Before we head to break, we also want to talk about another one of our great sponsors. That's Absolute Garage and Closets. I tell you what, Ross went out there the other day and snapped some photos of some of the work that Absolute Garage and Closets does. And if you're looking to revamp your garage, if you're looking to revamp your closets, that's what you need to do. They are professional, and Ross, they have some amazing units, and just the way they can design and visualize what your space can be, it's tremendous.
It is tremendous, and a lot more affordable than people think it might be, Travis. On the surface, you're going to see these products, and you're going to be like, man, that's probably $6-8 grand to do that to my house. Like $1,500. You can get, and even one of my buddies, my buddy Ryan Carlson at Willis, he was asking me about it. He's like, wait a minute, you showed a picture. It looks like those platforms actually have a mechanical thing that raised them to the ceiling. Yeah, it's a motor. You don't have to pull anything up. You hit a button, and these 4x8 metal racks raise up to the ceiling of your garage and take all that stuff out of there. Man, there's so many things that I would say about Marty and his team. Like, things aren't getting cheaper, right? So get out there as soon as you can. You will improve your quality of life, the enjoyment of your home, your resellability of your home. So many things. If you're a biker, if you have bikes in your garage, you have to get to Absolute Garage and Closets because they've got about 6 different ways for you to get those bikes off the ground, and they're all affordable and make it look really cool.
And you'll be the envy of your neighborhood, as all your neighbors will be like, where'd you get that? And you just say Absolute Garage and Closet.
Dude, the screen door on the front of your garage, you put that thing down one time, and you basically put a magnet on your garage to draw your neighborhood to go, that's cool. Yeah.
It is the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com. Good to have you along.
Oh, yeah, I got to do something here, don't I?
Yeah,
hold on. Talk for just like a few more seconds here, okay?
It is the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com.
March is a perfect time to buy at Willis Chevrolet of Granger. Drive home with low lease payments and special financing options for 2025 Equinox and Traverses. 2.9% APR for 72 months plus up to $7,500 in federal tax credits for eligible buyers. 2025 Equinox EVs and Blazers EVs. At Willis Chevrolet of Granger, we're here to make your car buying experience easy, stress-free, and friendly. Stop by today or visit us online to lock in these savings before they're gone.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage and Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage and Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage and Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
Missing a quality, home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the champagne of bars.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know, high-quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
Hi, I'm Steve Ollinger, Service Director here at Willis Nissan. On February 12th, the Iowa State Patrol reported over 170 accidents during the snowstorm. This month, February through April 30th, we are offering purchase 3 tires and get the 4th for $1 to keep you safe on the roads. Go to willisnissan.com to schedule your appointment today.
It is therushradio.com. Thanks for listening on the stream. And, of course, you can listen to us all day long at therushradio.com. Just hit that Listen Live button, and we'll be streaming the show over and over and over again. If you'd like to download it on your podcast, you can get it at your favorite podcast channel or at therushradio.com. I'm Travis Justice, live from Florence, Italy today, and Ross Peterson is at the home studio in Des Moines. Ross, the Drake Bulldogs are going to the NCAA Tournament, wrapping up the regular season championship and the conference tournament championship with a nice win over Bradley yesterday. So nice win for the Bulldogs, who take that anxiety away, right? It's the 30th win of the season. Think about that, 30th win, and I'm so happy they don't have to sit here and sweat it out for the next week on whether or not they're going to get an at-large bid or not. They just took care of business.
It really took care of business, Travis. I mean, they dominated that basketball game. Good game for a while. I mean, almost till halftime. That's a back-and-forth basketball game. And then able to pull away. That was fun to watch, to see just everything about it. You said it right. It took that pressure off. We were watching the game, and Eli's kind of asked me questions like, hey, Drake is in the tournament, right? No, they've got to win this game to get into the tournament. And that was so that relief that set in as that second half started to unfold, and you got to about 5 minutes left, and you're like, oh, right, this is a butt kicking, man. And Travis, over and over, I shouldn't say over and over, I did hear the commentators make that same claim that we did. Kevin Harlan, by the way, was calling the game. The Missouri Valley is the best one-bid league in America. And I don't know how even Bradley losing that game the way they did by 15 points. Man, you can watch the Valley tournament and see that Bradley is a team that deserves to be there. And I don't know what has to happen for that to change. I don't know at what point the committee finally says, yeah, you're a 2-bid league now, or you're a 3-bid league, or you guys you're starting to make your way into that mid-major thing again, away from the 1-bid league conversation to the mid-major conversation. And if you can't have games like that, and again, yesterday might not be the best example of it because of the way Drake ended up pulling away. But throughout the tournament, Bradley showed that they can win close games. Well, they can beat good teams.
Throughout the season, you're talking about Bradley has, 24, 25 wins on the season?
They're 26-8 on the season. So, 24 in the regular season. So
26 wins. And what happened was, and you're going to have to go back a long time ago. This is the early to mid-2000s. And I believe the Valley got in 4 one year. And people lost their minds because they're like, how does the Valley get 4 teams in? That's when you had Creighton, Wichita State, Bradley, and I think there was one more team that had made it the year they got 4 in. And Doug Elgin, who was the commissioner at the time of the Missouri Valley Conference, really encouraged those teams to schedule the right way, and that's when NET rankings were kind of the main use of, okay, you're going to look at these NET rankings, and that's kind of going to be how it's determined. And the big boys being the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, looked at that and said, absolutely not. We're not going to put up with this. So what's going to happen is we find a new way to do rankings, power rankings. You have a lot of these schools who won't even touch a Missouri Valley Conference team because if you get that upset, what happens, Ross? I mean, Drake would have had a very good case, and we talked to Jeff Goodman about this last week when he was on with us. They beat a very good Vanderbilt team. They beat a Vanderbilt team that's going to get an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. And so when you go get those wins, they build their resume. There's a reason, Iowa and Iowa State can use all the rhetoric they want about, well, we'll play Drake and we'll play UNI, but we got to do it at home because we need those home games. They don't want to even come close to giving Drake or UNI the possibility of scoring an upset because that only bolsters the resume of each one of those schools. I saw this morning on ESPN.com, and it pissed me off, and it made me mad because I'm a homer. And you've known me for a long time. I've loved the Missouri Valley Conference for as long as I can remember. I grew up with the Missouri Valley Conference. Creighton was in my backyard when I was growing up. I grew up in Minden, Iowa. I was going to Creighton games in the late 70s, early 80s, and got to cover them when they were in the Missouri Valley Conference. So I love the Valley. The headline made me mad. They're like, Drake, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, Drake takes care of business, won't steal a bid now. What do you mean steal a bid? If anything, if they would have lost yesterday, they deserve to be in. It's not like you're stealing a bid, all right? Somebody else would be stealing a bid. There would be a team from the Big 12 or the SEC or the Big 10 that's so far down the ladder, but you go, well, they're in a bigger league. So that's stealing a bid to me. You're taking it away from somebody who's a lot more deserving in Drake than a middle-of-the-pack Big 10, SEC, Big 12 school. I mean, am I being too much of a homer here?
No, you're not. What, like, they're stealing a bid from who?
Yes.
Indiana? Stealing a bid from Rutgers? Oh, man, guys, a team with a losing record in their conference isn't going to make the tournament because Drake lost. Stole a bid.
No, these middle of the pack fringe teams from the big conferences are living off the brand of not of their institution. They're living off the brand of the conference they're in. And that's why I'm so happy Drake just took care of business. So, because can you imagine the conversations we would have had for the next week if they would have lost yesterday, trying to play the game in our heads and justifying why Drake belongs? And we would have done it, but we also, even before the Valley Tournament started, knew the realistic possibility that if you don't win it, you're probably going to get left out. But we would have made the case for Drake. We don't have to make the case now. Ben McCollum and the Bulldogs they made the case for themselves.
They could have been 29-4 with a win over Valpo, a win over Miami, and a win over Kansas State. 29-4.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible.
Once, and it does deserve mentioning, dude, Sturtz is fantastic. When Goodman said to us last week, that might be my favorite player in college basketball, and, Drake fans, don't beat me up for this, but Bennett Sturtz is going to be one of the hottest, if not the hottest commodity in the transfer portal. You watch that game yesterday, you go, yeah. That dunk, and Trav, I'm not sure if you got to see the highlights or see much of the game. You probably didn't over where you are. It was a fun game. And
I learned this about the international plan. YouTube TV does not work over here. Does not work. They're like, yeah, you're out of the country. You can't watch. Now, I think I can watch the Peacock, because we're going to have some games on Peacock later on, but I wasn't able to watch the YouTube TV. So I'm following it along. You know, you got the play-by-play on the app. You're like, okay, we'll keep going. But play-by-play on the app of, you know, who scored is just not the same as watching the game. But, I mean, he said it, and he wasn't lying. You know, you can see when somebody's pretty genuine. Jeff Goodman was very genuine when he said Bennett Sturtz is his favorite player in the country, and in the transfer portal, he would take Bennett Sturtz over anybody else in the transfer portal right now because of the way he plays. And he started using examples of guys and big guys who went through the portal last year. He goes, who's had a bigger contribution? Who does things the right way? And I know the right way is kind of cliche-ish, but who's had a bigger impact? And I can't imagine the phone calls that Bennett Sturtz is getting right now with the money that's probably being offered to him. And I wouldn't fault him for going, hey, you know what? I love my time here at Drake, but I'm going to go cash in for $750 to $1 million because that's what you have to do. And there's no guarantee that Ben McCollum's going to be at Drake next year either, because you know, the Indiana situation is getting interesting. Goodman had a tweet yesterday that, like, TJ Otzelberger's out now, Scott Drew is out, Dusty May is out. They're like on number 5 of their wish list.
And this is what Jeff was talking about, that if they have to go far enough down their list, it's going to get to Ben McCollum.
Yes. And if Ben McCollum can go to Indiana and build a team around Bennett Sturtz, now I'm not saying he would be the high-profile guy at Indiana, but would Indiana fans just love a guy like Bennett Sturtz? Can you? I mean, that old school. They would absolutely fall in love with that guy. They would fall in love with it.
Here, I want to show this. Tyler wrote in and said the buzz in St. Louis is that Sturtz has $1 million offers, not offers. It says.
How do you turn that down? You don't. You don't turn that down. And most people, all realistic people, I know people will say, well, we need, you know, people who are committed. Where's the loyalty? Get out of here.
You've been brainwashed. Quit spitting that stuff back out that somebody else fed you. That's so dumb. Kids have transferred for a long time. Kids have looked around and said, this ain't the right situation for me. I've got a better opportunity somewhere else, and I'm going to go take it. And now there's true dollars attached to it. $1 million is life-changing money for a lot of people, not for everybody, and that's an important part of this. I don't know about the Sturtz family. I don't know about Bennett Sturtz. He's from Liberty, Missouri. My gut tells me they're not bajillionaires, and that $1 million would change that family, and especially Bennett Sturtz at 20 years old, 21, it would change his life. So I'm with you. You can't say no to that amount of money when your options are play again for free or minimal next year. And I'm not trying to talk him out of being at Drake University. The first thing, in fact, I wanted to say when I saw Tyler's comment, I wish that we could, I got to be careful here, because I wish that there was a way we could verify this stuff. You know, like the Bo Bassett thing with wrestling at Iowa. There's these rumors out there that he got $5 million, and then he comes out and says, I didn't get $5 million. I wish I got $5 million. I kind of wish there was a way to fact check this stuff. You know what I mean? And maybe, Travis, when they get to be employees of the universities, and these are state universities, maybe that will be part of that. They have to disclose this stuff. I don't know.
But Drake is a private
Drake's
institution.
a private, right? And they don't have to disclose any of that stuff. And I don't think that they ever would. I don't think we'll ever get to a point where it's like, okay, well, because it's NIL, Drake has to tell us. No, Drake can give everybody the middle finger.
You know, Mike asked, but what if he does turn them down? Well, a couple things. Then he has loyalty. But I would also say then maybe the offers aren't as big as what you think.
There you go. And maybe Drake is able to offer more than we think.
Yes.
I mean, listen, Drake is not like some sleeping giant, but, man, you've had some real successful people come out of Drake.
Yeah.
You've got
but
some...
Even when Ben McCollum was on with his last Tuesday, I think Ben was on with this. I'm just trying to get my bearing straight. He even said, hey, in this league, you're going to be turning rosters over every single year. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. And again, you got to have a guy that's ready and able and willing to do that. You've got to have a DeVries. You got to have a McCollum. You got to have a TJ. And these are just our local examples here within 90 miles of where I sit right now. 3 guys in the last 10 years that have been able to do that. It
takes work.
It takes a lot of work, and you got to have a lot of pieces in place, and you got to be the right guy at the right time, and all those things, Trav. But it can happen. The old thing of, man, we got to get a guy that can bring guys in and develop them over 4 years, because we're a developmental program. We can't recruit 5-star guys, so we got to recruit the 3 stars that are blue collar and back there. You're repeating stuff you've been fed. These are the same. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was saying, a couple guys Drake making $100K this year. If that's the case, worth every penny. You just you won 30 games and you won a regular season title and you won a conference tournament title. That's worth every single penny.
More importantly, you're headed to the NCAA tournament.
Yes, and that's money for the next couple of years. You get those units. So you look at the money that tournament's going to bring in for Drake. A couple guys making $100,000, and that's nothing. That's pennies on the dollar in today's market. And so you're going to have to. Bennett Sturts is going to have to look at these offers. Like, even if it's $500, even if it's $750K, nobody's going to fault it. And you can't get mad at him because you love it when your team gets somebody out of the portal.
Exactly, Trav. That's something that I have seen die over these last couple of years, because it used to be, when a kid transferred away from your school, it was like, oh, look at him just grabbing the money. He ain't built the Hawkeye way. He couldn't handle Kirk Ferentz. He couldn't handle Kurt Ferentz. He had to transfer away because he ain't tough enough to be a Hawkeye. And then we pay a kid to come from Ohio State, and it's like, God damn it, the kid just wants to play the right way.
No, he just wants to get paid.
He just wants to be a Hawkeye. Kurt Ferentz probably went in there and said, boy, do you want to be a man? And he said, yeah, make me a man, Kurt. That's how stupid we are as fans. We do it we're blinded. I heard this the other day by a CIA guy. Do you know when the true indication?
You know my boss?
You're not my only friend in the CIA, by the way. Yeah. I'll have to tell you my story one time about my buddy, dude. So if you cannot see the good in your opponent and you cannot find bad in your side, that's an indication that you've been brainwashed. That's an indication that you're being worked over in some way. If it seems completely one-sided to you and it's like, well, yeah, this side's right wholly, and that side's just evil and awful. That's the time to pump the brakes and step back and go, wait, why am I feeling this way? All right, so I'll tell you my story over. I can't give the guy's name, okay? But a lot like you, he travels the world.
Because he's in the CIA.
Travels the world. It's always like, what were you doing? Oh, I was setting up a network system in Thailand. Huh? Doing what? So one day we have like a golf event, and I'm picking up checks from the guys, and because we're paying our bill for some big golf event. And my buddy's like, yeah, just if you can stop by my office downtown, no problem. Stop in and pick up a check. I'm like, okay. So like I don't even know which insurance company you work for now, because it's always some other insurance company or financial management group, right? He's like, okay, sends me the address. Come to this corner, and there's a parking lot. Pull into that parking lot, come in the door, ask for me. So I do that. Pull in this parking lot, walk in this business center. Lady, hi, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm looking for my friend. She's like, we don't have anybody here by that name. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. And she's like, what'd you say his name was? I say it again. She's typing it up. So I pull out my phone. I'm like, God, maybe I'm in the wrong place. I pull up my phone, and I'm like, no, I'm looking out there. And in that moment, this lady goes, oh, yeah. Hold on one moment, sir. I'm like, come on, man. You gotta be. He wasn't in your system, and now he is? Okay. I see what's going on here.
He probably wasn't in the system, and then as soon as the search happened,
exactly,
and then put him in there.
Now, my friend will, just like you, he will be like, I'm not in the CIA. That's funny that you guys think that. Sure you're not. Sure you're not. Working for an insurance or investment or logistics. I do importing, exporting.
A lot of importer-exporters out there.
Why does your check say Vanderlei Industries?
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
So, I know we're going to get into the Iowa basketball team, too.
Yeah.
Something really cool, and Jason just mentioned this. Something really cool did happen at the end of that game, Trav.
You're talking the Iowa-Nebraska game yesterday because, was it Gary from Nebraska? I'm trying to think what player it was that
was checking out at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really a cool moment, man. I do want to spend some time talking about this Hawkeye team because as hard as we have been on Fran, and I do think that we're at the end of the era here. You and I've always said this. We like Fran as a man. We think he is really a fun guy to talk to once you kind of get him to once you can understand that communication angle that's tough to get around when you're talking to an East Coast guy who didn't grow up with you. Really fun guy to talk to. We like Fran. We just think that the time has come. Dude, you can't say it enough about how this team doesn't quit. They could have quit. They could have quit a couple times this year. It hasn't been a good year. Hadn't even been a fun year, it wouldn't seem like, on that team. They aren't close to living up to their expectations, and fighting tooth and nail and clawing and scratching as much as they possibly can. I do think that is an admirable thing, not only for all of those players, but for Fran McCaffrey, that he's been able to keep these guys as engaged as he has. Now, I think that you could argue about that. Like, well, are they really engaged when they're losing? Like, I think you watch these games and you see in a lot of times in those individual games, like even with Michigan State, you see these flashes of like, man, they're not giving up. They're not walking out there going, well, we're playing against the Michigan State, we're going to get our ass kicked. No, they go out there and they fight and scratch and claw and end up getting beat. And then to see that win over Nebraska was nice to see, man. They all of that stuff again, to see them continue to play, continue to fight.
And
Good
then to embrace somebody who's not on your team because he's emotional, and that's sportsmanship. But you could make the argument that happens because that's a reflection of your coach, right? And that I mean,
that's good actually. Yeah, Trav. That is very. Yeah, I should have thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, when you do stuff like that, that's a reflection of the person you are playing for because you do the right thing. And Fran is a very tough situation. I know Chris Hassel the other day was on Twitter, and he gave the Fran era like a C or C+. And Nicholas Baer, former player, jumped on and was he goes, I know your shtick. I hate it when people think we do shticks, right? I mean, we're not doing shtick radio. Shtick radio is if we were bringing fake callers on and we don't do that stuff. And Chris and Chris don't do that stuff. You just have conversations like this where, stuff comes to your mind and you have thoughts. Chris Hassel's not doing a shtick, but think about it. You've gone to the NCAA tournament half the time you've been there. You've not gotten to the round of 16. To me, that's you haven't got to. How many times they got to the round of 32? Like once. I mean, say what you want. It's an.
I thought Hassel's comment was totally fair. That this is a C+ era. It has been, and Nicholas Baer coming to the defense of his coach. I don't blame him either.
No.
But if I had voted on that poll, or whatever, I don't remember how that came. I think Murph and Andy had put out a poll about it or something like that. But Hassel basically did send out a tweet saying, I think this is a C+ era. I totally agree with that. And it's not I don't think that's a knock on Fran. I think that's an evaluation of where we are and what. And how can you not know that Chris Hassel is a diehard Hawkeye fan?
Yes.
It's not shtick. It's not shtick. He and Chris have, fun personalities, and they've got a quirky sense of humor, and that stuff comes out on their tweets and in their content and all that stuff. it's not shtick, though. Shtick to me implies like it's faked or forced.
Yes.
And man, if like Williams might be corny, but he is authentically corny. It's the real deal. And Hassel, this is what Hassel has done. Give you honest opinion about what he's thinking about his favorite team. So I thought it was I don't blame Nicholas Bear for jumping on and defending his coach, and I think that Hassel basically knew that he was going to get some stuff like that. I mean, when you're a figure like that, everybody sees what Hassel puts out. You're going to get a few people that love Fran, and again, things we've talked about it, how his players don't transfer in mass. We as fans have a much harsher opinion on Fran than his players do. The people that know him and inside his circle, they don't see the same Fran that we do as fans. Like when we were talking with Goodman, I said, man, I'm embarrassed sometimes by Fran's antics. I don't think you'd ever hear one of his players say that. I really don't. I think his players would go, you mean when he's out there fighting for us, when he's out there being passionate and competing, and he gets hot-headed?
We can't even use the antics anymore because he hasn't done it in like the last year and a half. Right? I mean, we haven't seen Fran's red face in how long. But it's okay to go, okay, they play hard, but is anything really going to change? Has it plateaued? And when apathy sets in, when fans don't show up anymore, and to me, you gauge excitement about a program by the attendance in the arena. You really do. And
good way to put it, dude.
And the truth is, it's not like Carver Hawkeyes packed. It's
not even close. Trav, and that's the thing. So, and again, let's leave this sliver of hope into this conversation, okay? Because wouldn't this just be an unbelievable, miraculous run? I mean, I don't think it happens. I'm going to be very
love to
clear
eat
here.
crow. I would love to eat crow. I would
Me
be
too.
excited to eat crow.
Let's talk about that 98% probability, which is that the Hawkeyes don't win the Big Ten title and make a run into March Madness. And now let's fast forward a couple of months, and we're into June or July, and we're talking about the 2025-26 basketball season. And Fran McCaffrey is still the head coach of that team. Do you sell more or less season tickets?
You sell less. You
Yes.
sell less season tickets because people are going to be like, I can go get a ticket if they start winning. I'm not going to worry about getting a ticket.
I don't even know what percent, because it's just been a precipitous drop. It's just been constant tick down, tick down, tick down. And I think that you'll get another tick down if that doesn't happen. You nailed it. You can tell the energy around a program by attendance. As Hawkeye fans, we've watched this up in Ames. We've watched it. Like, it's 12 degrees below zero, and Kansas State's coming to town, and people are lined up around Hilton, and it's packed to the gills, and down by 12 with 4 minutes to play, the place is rocking. So you can't say things like, well, it's the weather. Iowa fans don't go out because it's cold. No, that's bull.
There's been plenty of times when they filled it when it's cold. You can't use and maybe you can use the 8 o'clock start so you can say, well, a lot of Hawkeye fans.
But again, you can't. This is like in the 90s when people said, man, you can't win at Iowa and Iowa State football because you're too far north. Hello? Lincoln's kicking our ass. What are you talking about? You can't win because you're too cold? Michigan wins.
Ohio State wins.
Well, but it's recruiting. But it's recruiting base. You can't win if you don't have kids around you. Look at Lincoln.
Boise State wins.
But we repeated it. You heard that stuff and you went, oh yeah, that's why. Okay, blah. Oh, okay, yeah, I heard it. Blah.
Hold that thought. We got an hour in the books. We got an hour to go.
All right, I got some stuff to do.
Right on by. This is the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com.
Spring is coming up, and it's a time for cleaning and renewal. Get your spring cleaning started early with a fuel induction service from Willis Volvo Cars. This service cleans out carbon buildup and other deposits from the fuel injectors, intake valves, and combustion chambers. This service can provide fuel efficiency, performance, and power to make sure your Volvo is ready for spring and summer travel. Right now, we are offering 10% off a fuel induction service, so give us a call or head online to willisvolvocars.com.
something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage and Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage and Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage and Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines. With more than 25 years of experience, Gary has been Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. With creativity and professionalism, Gary is dedicated to finding unique programs to help you afford the home you deserve. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank/Gary Presnall. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Missing a quality home-cooked meal? You know, the kind Mom used to make? Lucky for you, we found her recipe book. Welcome to the High Life. Welcome to the Champagne of Bars.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's $25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's $25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquor is home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge.
Hour number 2 of the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com. Good to have you along on a Monday morning.
I forgot about this, dude. Hold on.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You give it. There you go. There you go. You can listen all day at the rushradio.com. Just click that listen live button. You can also find the podcast there too, so you can download the podcast and just have it in your phone as you're ready to go. We were just talking about Iowa making the Big Ten tournament. They needed to win yesterday. They go on the road and beat Nebraska, knock Nebraska out of the Big Ten tournament, which the pressure's growing on Fred Hoiberg now. And this puts Troy Dannon, the athletic director at Nebraska, in a very, very weird situation, right? I mean, Troy's known Fred probably since Fred was in high school, when Troy was working for the Iowa Girls Union. I mean, and then he went to Northern Iowa. Everybody knows Fred Hoiberg. There's a friendship there. 3 weeks ago, Nebraska was solidly in the NCAA tournament. And this shows you how fast things can change. They tank at the end of the season, don't make the Big Ten tournament, and now you look at them and go, all I'm doing, Ross, because it's 1 o'clock where I'm at in Florence, Italy, and I'm just watching my phone to see if Fred Hoiberg is going to get fired today. He's been to one NCAA tournament in 6 years. They regressed as this season went along. How long do you stick with a guy? I'm hearing both sides from Nebraska fans. Nebraska fans are like, nobody's a better X's and O's guy than Fred, blah, 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 blah. But then you have people like, okay, if he's that good, why hasn't there been more success? He's turned the roster over every year. His first 2 years were disasters. He inherited a dumpster fire. Then COVID hit. But you can only use that for so long because you can turn basketball around faster. Well, I'm not going to say football now because look at football. Indiana turned it around in one season.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Trav. We're going to have to quit repeating that cliche. That's a great point. We're going to have to quit repeating that cliche that you can do it in basketball and basketball alone because in the new world, Kurt Signetti showed you can do it in football as well. And again, we've had multiple examples of it here in central Iowa of how you can do that in basketball. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's got to be the right guy at the right time with all the right things. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's absolutely possible.
I mean, let's use we were just talking about Fran McCaffrey, right? I mean, how long North Carolina State, their coach, Keats, took them to the Final Four last year, Ross. Final Four. If Fran McCaffrey or Fred Hoiberg in Nebraska took their team to the Final Four, they'd have lifetime contracts. Keats got fired this morning. Got fired. He just took this team to the Final Four a year ago and got fired.
Trav, you can tell. I mean, again, it's that old cliche of watch people's actions, and you'll learn a lot from people's actions. What are your priorities? And that's the conversation that happens in these athletic departments, I really do believe, is a priorities conversation. Corey writes in and says, you got to give Fred one more year. He's still selling tickets.
But it goes to what we were talking about. Is that if you're selling tickets, if you're making money, people are kind of satisfied. You're not quick to pull the trigger, so to speak. Maybe Fred does get another year, but his time is ticking. His time is ticking. And you look at the situation he had at Iowa State, and maybe it was better, Ross, that he left when he did, because Jamie Pollard might have had to been in a situation where it didn't stay at the same level that Fred had it. I think it's all worked out. It's worked out for two people. It's worked out for T.J. Otzelberger, and it's worked out for Greg McDermott. It really has.
Can I also throw Jamie Pollard in there?
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I thought I remember having this conversation when Fred was discussing going to the NBA, or there were these things about the Hoiberg watch that we were all having fun with. And I was out there saying, Fred, don't leave. You're going to have a statue, dude. You are talking about a legacy. You are going to leave behind an absolute, unshakable legacy if you just stick around Ames. They're going to rename the arena Hoiberg Coliseum someday. There will be a 8-foot statue of you dribbling a basketball in your Ames uniform someday. Don't give that up. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. He didn't want to stay. He had aspirations. Jeff nailed it. He was an NBA guy. He was an NBA guy through and through, and then that didn't work out because of all the things that the bad hand that he was dealt there. And now he ends up at Nebraska and does his best there, but it just never grabs hold. And so again, it's a priorities conversation in the athletic department. What is the most important thing? Is it having a guy that represents our university well, that's out there as an ambassador for Lincoln, that understands his role in the athletic department here, because we're a football school. So if that's their priorities, Fred Hoiberg doesn't get fired today. If the priority is we have got to win basketball games, Fred's gone today. And
I can tell you what the priority is in Lincoln, Nebraska. Football is the priority in Lincoln, Nebraska. It always has been, always will be. Basketball, as much as they want to be successful, is the second thought. It is, okay, as long as it's almost like, don't embarrass us, don't do anything like that, and you'll buy yourself some time. And Nebraska's been through just as many basketball coaches from Doc Sadler, from Barry Collier to Doc Sadler to Tim, I forget his last name, and then Fred Hoiberg. You can only, I forget his last name. It's Tim something. I forget what it was, but I mean, you can only have so much turnover. But you know what? Some teams do it. The North Carolina State said, "Oh, you went to the Final Four last year? Yeah, we don't care. We got to compete with Carolina. We got to compete with Duke. We got to compete with these other teams. And and it's slipping. And remember, Carolina State was, a team that got lucky last year, got hot in the NCAA tournament and made that miraculous run to the Final Four. It wasn't like they were a very high seed. They got hot at the right time, which is what we love about March Madness. But usually a Final Four is going to buy you a couple more years, not one more season. Casey Hall brings it in. Nebraska basketball is a third thought after volleyball and football in that order.
And they might be sliding down.
Yes.
So we will find out today where that priority list is for Nebraska basketball. You're right that in the athletic department's office, they're not a priority. But once they actually get to that subsect, which is the most important thing? Because if it's having a guy that represents the university well, Fred Hoiberg is a CEO. I mean, he really does a great job of representing. That's why we loved him in Iowa. Like, yeah, that's one of us. Look at that guy. Clean cut, good looking.
Well, look what Jeff Goodman said last week about Fred. He goes, Fred's not going to be your typical coach who lives and breathes this 24/7. You have basketball coaches that they're in the office. That's what they do. Fred's kind of like a...
And I like that. Again,
so do I.
But I want to win. But I want to win. My priority as a fan is one and one only. It's win, right? I shouldn't say that, Trav. I can't. I got to stop myself because I don't like the way that Fran McCaffrey berades officials and things like that, right? So I not only want to win, but I want to win the right way. That thing that I hate people saying, because you need to define that, and you can't. What do you mean? Well, I'll know it when I see it. It's art or pornography. So I want them to win, but I want them to win in the way that I want them to win. I want them to win, but I don't want them to win 58-57.
That's too slow of a game.
That's too slow of a game.
I don't want Tony Bennett.
Right. I mean, come on. We're going to bring in Ben McCullum and win 30 games next year? Come on.
That might be the biggest knock on McCullum, right?
It is. Is that it's a lick-lighter style of play.
Yes.
And that scares Hawkeye fans.
Somebody asked me, they're like, is Ben McCullum that type of coach, or is he just coaching those type of players, and that's the system that he knows he can win in? I would say it might be a little bit of both, but I think a lot of people will look at a style and go, boy, as much as we want to win, we also need an entertaining type of basketball. It's entertaining when you win. Tony Bennett ran an ugly offense. Ugly offense. Played ferocious defense. But I promise you, if Virginia didn't win, people would have been, this is boring basketball, right? And I think a lot of people look at Ben McCullum and go, you're a great coach. But if you lose, 10, 15 games a year at Indiana or wherever he ends up, and it's 58-56, and you're holding the ball till the shot clock ends, people go, I can't watch this. I can watch it if you win.
For the McCollum conversation, Tyler brings up a really good point here that we should mention. He does have 5 D2 national championships. That's not Todd Licklider. Thank you, Tyler. Thanks for that perspective. You're right. And again, Bennett, Ryan, you've had coaches that have played that slow down pack line defense, whatever you want to call it. We're going to emphasize on the defensive end, and we're going to get a shot off with under 5 on the shot clock. You've had teams that have done that and been national champions. So it can be done at that big level. If your Beth gets and your priorities are, okay, first of all, we've got to start with the first thing is you're going to move on from Fran. Because if you're going to move on from Fran, then the priority has to be, man, we got to get a winner. We got to get somebody that can win games and pack this arena. And I do think that a part of this, like we talked about with TJ, you want somebody that walks in the door and goes, oh, I'm home. I'm home. This is it, man. I can't wait to make this job the thing that I've always dreamed of it being. That might be Ben McCollum. Grew up in Iowa City. Grew up a Hawkeye fan. Drake fan. But we all know this. I mean, he talked about it. Bruce Pearl coming up to him when he was a kid at an Iowa basketball clinic. There's something to that. There's something to the, man, I love this place. And I want to make this place my home for a long time. I want to raise my family in this environment. Last week we talked about how the other part of TJ that made him special is his wife. One of the things that ties him to Iowa State is not only TJ's time in Ames, but his wife's time in Ames. And now they have a family, and they get to raise their family in the community where they met, and they both, or where she went to college, and he spent his first years of coaching. And I said all that on the air, and my buddy Ryan Grove wrote, and he's like, he's a big Iowa State fan, but he's like, hey, Ross, it's funny that you said Iowa doesn't have a guy whose partner is a legend at the school. They could hire Connor McCaffrey. Think if you hired Connor McCaffrey with the idea that, hey, by the way, Caitlin Clark might be in the stands for about half of these games, you'd sell more season tickets. Are you there?
Yeah, I was going through the Big 12. I'm going through the brackets going, Caitlin Clark would be well, first of all, Connor McCaffrey's not ready to be a head coach yet.
No, it's a total joke, but it is.
Yes.
It is that thing of if it were just that easy of, hey, if we could just find a guy who loved being here and whose wife is a legend, just like they did at Iowa State, that'd be the secret sauce. Well, you got his number.
How big is that first game of the Big Ten tournament for Fran McCaffrey? They play Ohio State.
Not that big.
Really?
No.
Because I think the more he wins, the more you make the case for him to stick around.
All right, let me go look at the Big Ten tournament because I haven't even looked at what the bracket looks like. They'll go in there now. All right, so you're going to have
Ohio State first, and if they win,
and
then they play Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's kicked the crap right.
No, if they beat Ohio State, they play Illinois.
Okay, and Illinois is playing really good basketball right now. They're healthy. They're over all their sickness.
Beat Illinois, you get Maryland. Beat Maryland, you get the winner of, you probably get Michigan or Purdue. Trav, I don't think beating Ohio State does much to move the needle at all. Beating Illinois, maybe you're starting that conversation. I think in order, and I'll just talk about it personally. What would I need to see for me to be like, yeah, bring Fran back next year? There will be more momentum next year. There'll be more fan excitement next year. What has to happen? Dude, they got to win the Big Ten tournament. If you get to the finals, that might be enough to be like, holy cow, look at how great this team played. I'm inspired by the way that they finished the season. I am. Even that 10-minute run against Michigan State in that first half, I thought it was the best 10 minutes of basketball I saw them play all year long. And then to not give up yesterday on the road, knowing that you've got to win that game. And the other team had to win that game to get in also.
And they're playing at home.
Rivalry game on the road, and you go and you win the way that you did. Man, that's really cool. Carry that momentum and beat Ohio State. Awesome. But what, again, like I'm trying to zoom out. What does it mean? What does it mean for Iowa fans? Again, have that June conversation. What does it mean in June? Beating Ohio State doesn't mean anything.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the emotion of what happened yesterday. And if you were to win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament, it's easy to cut. But you have the right approach, Ross, and that is you got to look at from 1,000 feet in the air. And 1,000 feet, it's June.
Yeah, and a win, this win over Nebraska, again, it gets you into the Big Ten tournament, so we don't have to have, because I do think a loss to Nebraska, not making the Big Ten tournament, you've got to, it's a nail in the coffin. I think that right now you're still holding that nail and the hammer is here. And you're waiting for that thing to happen where you go, okay, boom, now we're done. I don't wish that for Fran. I'm not out here going, oh boy, I can't wait for Fran to not be the coach. Not the case. I want the Hawkeyes to win. I want there to be momentum. I want there to be excitement and energy, and none of that is going to happen unless major changes come our way.
And the only way major change happens is if you get the swarm behind you that can offer a pretty large payroll to bring in players, because you're just not going to you brought it up last hour. You can develop all you want. You still have to replace and bring in. You have to mix a level of transfer portal guys with current guys and make it work. Every team's going to have to do that. Kansas is going to have to do it. St. John's going to have to do it. UConn's going to have to do it. Iowa's going to have to do it. You have to go to the portal and have some money to deal with. And I don't know if Brad Heinrichs from the Swarm has that much money to dole out, because football's the priority. Would you agree with that? Football is the priority at Iowa?
Absolutely, yeah. And Trav, again, back to the NIL conversation there. I think you've got to, again, it's a soup, so let me put a couple of ingredients into it. Number one is Fran is not exactly a transfer portal coach, right? He's not a guy that's out there trying to grab those guys. He's kind of an old school dude in that way. That's the first ingredient. The second ingredient is his relationship with the guys that are the NIL guys. And maybe that goes back to the Gary Barta thing when they first started the Swarm, and we were even having Brad on the radio saying, I can't even get a list of donors. I can't even get access. They won't even tell me anything.
But I think Beth has been better than Gary Barta.
She has been. But what was it that got the thing going? It was Brad's relationship with Kirk Ferentz. That's how you got to where it was. And so when you don't have all of the coaches having that same relationship with the money guy, you're not going to get the same money coming back.
Some people right now are commenting, I'd rather give my money to the Iowa women's team. And there is more excitement around Jan Jensen and the Iowa women's team than there is the men's team right now. So we live in interesting times.
Yeah. So Travis, I'll ask you the same question. What does Iowa basketball have to do so that you're like, yeah, I want Fran back next year?
It has to win the Big Ten tournament.
So the win against Ohio State means nothing.
But then, I started going in my head, if you win the Big Ten tournament, where was this all year long? If because you can't repeat that cycle. You've got, if the talent was there, where was it?
Well, okay, I don't think that's fair. I understand, but I don't think that's, I think that the right attitude at that point, if they win the Big Ten title and they will go on an incredibly improbable run, the attitude just has to be, holy cow, what a miraculous run this has been. And I don't think you should, I think that's a little bit too cynical to go, well, where the hell has this been all year long? No, man, enjoy it. It's the old Jake Sullivan line. If you're not happy when you're winning, you're a real loser.
That's fair. Somebody asked earlier where they thought Drake was going to fall in the seed. They go, did they get above a 10? You're looking at a 12 line for Drake. Drake's probably going to be a 12 or an 11 seed. I don't think they get to a 10. I'd be shocked if they got to a 10. They're sure as hell not going to be an 8 or 9. And hell, you don't want to be an 8 or 9. If you're Drake, if they said, hey, you could have the 8-9 seed or the 11-12 seed, I'll take the 11-12 all day long. I think it's a better matchup. You get more upsets there. That 8-9, sure, you get, hey, we were an 8 seed. Okay, you're playing a really hard game to start, and then you're playing a number 1 seed right after that. Take the 11-12.
It does seem, as I'm thinking about it, it does seem very Selection Sunday-ish to put a 30-win team on the 8 line next to Auburn. That seems like a very NCAA thing to do. Congratulations on your 30-win season. It doesn't even matter if it's Auburn. Here's your congratulations on your 30-win season. Now, here's an 8 seed. I'm with Travis. I don't know where they've played themselves to. Where are they? I'm going to go look right now on
Bracket Matrix.
Yeah, I'm just going to go see what people are thinking, what the idea is, because I do think that bracket matrix is one of the better big views, because you've got so many different bracketologists weighing in on it.
They have Drake pretty much right now. They have Drake as a 12 seed, be the top 12 seed, but they're pretty much sitting on a 12-11 line. The highest one they have is a 9 seed. And that's only 1, and I believe that's from, I don't even know who that's from.
Because an 11 could mean you're a play-in, right?
Could be, yeah.
And an 11 would put you at, now that, what?
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there'll be a play-in.
Yeah, not all 11. That's.
Yeah. But I think you got to look at them, just be realistic and go, okay, is it fair? No, but they're probably going to be a 12 seed.
Which, I think you nailed it. That's fine. That's fine. Chad just wrote 12 seed playing number 5 Clemson, or 5th seed Clemson. I'd sign up for that.
100%.
And again, I would caution Drake fans against overreacting to whatever happens on Sunday, because Iowa State fans did this last year. When that bracket came out last year, man, Iowa State fans threw their hands up and were like, oh, the NCAA's plotting against us. Look at how horrible of a draw we got. It turned out not to be that case. Okay, every team is going to have to play another team, and then you're going to have to play another team after that, another team after that. You're going to have to win all the games to get to where you want to be. So don't throw a fit if you end up on that 8-9 line. Don't bitch about it. Just say, oh man, well that's kind of crappy, but here we go. Now we get to play one of the best teams in the country on Saturday.
People who might be bitching, or watch where Kansas ends up, or maybe in Illinois. I mean, Kansas ends up on that 8 line. You got a 9 team going, I don't want to play Kansas. Then you got a number 1 team in the country saying, I don't want to play Kansas. Illinois is going to be another one of those teams that's going to fall because they lost why they were unhealthy. To me, I think this tournament that we're about to watch is going to be exciting. It is going to be interesting how the dominoes fall into place and where the seedings fall into place. We're always intrigued by it. That's why the March Madness is the single greatest tournament on the planet. It's just because, listen, we're a week away from less than a week away from Selection Sunday. A lot of basketball to be played, but we're going to play these mental gymnastics with the seeds for the next week. And we're going to watch these conference tournaments and watch the upsets that happen and go, oh, that just moved back on the chessboard.
Quinnipiac, American, Omaha, Southern.
Omaha qualified for its first NCAA tournament last night. They won the Summit League. The weird thing about them, Ross, they had already qualified without even winning the championship because they played St. Thomas. And St. Thomas is in that transition year, so they couldn't qualify for the tournament. So once they made the final, they were already in the NCAA tournament because they won the regular season title. And then, but that was like dangerous, right? I'm like, oh, you're going to lose that. Just, you're sitting there going, oh, you already know you're in. They were already like ticket punched before they even played the game. Like, just go play your championship game and do it the right way.
Northern Colorado. How about the team that might win the Coastal Conference? Not Townsend, Towson.
Towson? $1,000? I got $1,000?
Central Connecticut State. Central Connecticut State might be one of your Cinderella teams. This is why March is fun.
Tyler does ask you a good question. With the Missouri State leaving the Missouri Valley Conference, does the Valley want Omaha? And I tell you what, Omaha loves the Valley. There is a strong support for the Missouri Valley Conference in Omaha. And from a media market standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense. From a fan knowledge base, I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know from an institution-wise if it makes a lot of sense because basketball is not number one at Omaha. I call it UNO, which is the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Hockey is the premier sport at Omaha. But that would be an interesting.
Wrestling used to be, thanks, Trev Alberts.
Used to be. They don't have wrestling anymore. Speaking of wrestling, when we come back, we're going to talk about some wrestling because it was not a good weekend for the Iowa wrestling team. And
speaking of coaching changes, speaking of fans clamoring for coaching changes,
100%, you're 100% right. So we'll talk a little Iowa wrestling when we come back on the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com.
Is something in your attic keeping you up at night? Don't let unwanted guests take over your home. With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's trusted expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly wildlife solutions at a fair price. We safely remove bats, squirrels, raccoons, birds, and more so you can sleep soundly again. For a free estimate, call Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions today at 515-218-3400.
You've dreamed about an absolutely organized garage or closet? See it for yourself at Absolute Garage & Closet's beautiful showroom in Urbandale. See the latest in garage storage, custom closet systems, and epoxy flooring applications up close, and imagine how good it will feel to have your garage, closets, or other spaces absolutely organized. Free consultations, friendly service, and quick project turnarounds, Absolute Garage & Closets is ready to bring peace of mind into your home. Visit Absolute Garage & Closets at 3169 99th Street in Urbandale or at absolutegarage.net.
Largest selection of German beer in the world, you'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbox to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels. There's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
When it comes to mortgages, no one is more trusted than Gary Presnall at Northwest Bank in Des Moines, Iowa's top mortgage banker for the past 5 years. Call Gary at 515-975-6767 or find his profile at nw.bank.
You know, Brian, at Central City, we really do have the best selection around.
I know, high quality stuff you can't find anywhere else.
Whistle Pig Plantation Rum.
Yeah, and over 150 of the best scotches on earth.
And a ton of bitters, mixers, and more.
You know what we are? High class.
Definitely high class, yeah.
Make way for the natty.
Okay, maybe medium class.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the Wooden Nickel program.
My name is Corey Allen, and I'm a recon tech at Willis Automotive. Worked here for about a year and 3 months. Was an express tech before this. I was in the automotive field before I came here. Needed a different change of pace from, the management and everything, and someone who already works here, who liked how everything was ran, told me about it, told me that there was a spot open, and told me to give it a shot, and I've liked it ever since. A lot of good people that work here. Everyone's willing to share their knowledge. Yeah, I would say that's about it.
If you have a pest problem with over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
Welcome back to The Rush Radio at therushradio.com. You can listen live all day long at therushradio.com. Just click that Listen Live button or download the podcast wherever you find your podcast, but you can find it at therushradio.com. I'm Travis Justice. He's Ross Peterson. The Big Ten Wrestling Championships wrapped up over the weekend. Ross, I was surprised at this. Iowa finished 4th last year. They finished 3rd this year. It went Penn State, Nebraska, and then Iowa. For the 2nd year in a row, Iowa failed to have a Big Ten champion. Their number 1 seed got pinned at 125. No individual Big Ten champion for the 2nd year in a row for Iowa. And
Travis,
after that, you have to go way back to even find that.
They had one wrestler finish above his seed. One wrestler finished above where they were supposed to, predicted to, should have, whatever you want to say. One wrestler did it. Now, I don't want to overreact to it yet because you've still the most important tournament is the national championship.
They're not going to do any better than that.
I mean, you're not what I'm like. There's no way around it, dude. This is a severe disappointment. It is Iowa not wrestling their best when they need to wrestle their best. We saw this a couple times throughout the year, too. Dude, the home duel against Penn State was one of those examples of they're just not hitting the gear when they need to hit the gear. Which was like the thing that we all thought that's what the Brands did best, right? These guys are super intense, and man, when the going gets tough, these guys get mean and tough, and it's not working. It's not reaping the results, and other people are starting to outpace them. And I think that's what Hawkeye fans are seeing that's so frustrating. It's not just Penn State widening that gap year over year over year and stretching it out. It's teams like Nebraska beating them. It's Iowa State closing that gap in a huge way that existed.
Northern
5,
Iowa
10 years ago.
closing the gap.
Northern Iowa. What used to be more of a chasm is now a sliver. And you got a lot of people saying, hey, give Schwab the resources that the Brands have and see what happens. Give Schwab an Olympic development training facility and see if he can do something with this, because a lot like Fran, it does feel like we've hit a wall. And not the Fran comparison is too harsh, because again, we're talking about a team that finished 3rd in the conference tournament and is still one of the top 10 teams in the country, top 5 teams in the country. Some days.
But the gap between number 1 and number 3 is massive, and we're seeing the gap between 2, 3, and 4 is is very narrow, but the truth is you're slipping down the ladder, right? What matters most to people? Is it duels or is it tournaments? Because you are judged on, you're really judged on tournaments. Now, duels are important, right? But you're judged on tournaments.
It's the same thing with basketball. You're judged on how you do in March. That's all that matters. You can lose a bunch of games, man. You make that magic run in March. We just talked about it with Fran. You're going to cure a lot of problems there. That's exactly, Travis, the way to look at it. The duels are like the regular season. The tournaments are your postseason, if you will. But this is where every wrestling fan is more interested in this, and this is where your true accolades are earned rather than in dual meets.
I should have seen what was going to happen this weekend. I was in Troy Dannon's office, the athletic director of Nebraska, about a month and a half ago. It was right after the Iowa-Nebraska dual meet where Iowa rallied to beat Nebraska. And I was talking to him about it. He goes, I'm not worried. I go, what do you mean? He goes, once we get in the tournaments, we beat them. He knew it, and he saw that. He goes, well, we won't beat Penn State. He goes, we'll beat Iowa in the Big Ten tournament. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Wow. I mean, and what was, because Iowa wrestling fans they're kind of like Nebraska football fans, in that Nebraska football fans live and breathe still the days of Tom Osborne, right? Iowa wrestling fans live and breathe the days of Dan Gable, and it's only natural. But I would say that at times the Brands brothers have lived up to the Gable standard. They've won national titles. But you see the slip happening. And I think Tom Brands is one of the most ferocious competitors you ever want to be.
No doubt about it.
You doesn't want to lose.
You can't deny that.
Right? Can't deny that. But he keeps saying the same thing after performances like this, whether that's a loss to Penn State or an underperformance in a tournament. Well, we're going to the Nationals, and that's all that matters. We're going to the – okay, I get you have to see down the road, but there's a killer instinct that just – wrestling's a different sport. It is just a different sport. I'm not going to sit here and claim to be, an expert on it, but you just knew that what made Iowa teams great is when they were underdogs or they had an underdog at a weight, they get into those things yesterday, Ross, where would they have 3 or 4 in the finals? You knew they were going to win 2 or 3 of them just because they had the mentality. Yeah. The fact that they didn't get one of them is shocking to me. Shocking.
Before we, we've got some time here, but I saw the bats and bugs things, and Corey just sent me this. So while we got people here, I want to tell folks about this. All right.
Okay.
Corey, because it's warming up, bugs are going to be moving around. Corey says if you mention the Rush, you're going to get a 10% discount. Don't forget that. Great weather coming up. Bugs are going to start being active. So if you start seeing critters, you know the guy.
You start seeing bugs, you know the guy. We know a guy, and we want you to know a guy. And all you have to do is call Bats and Bugs, say, hey, I heard about you on the Rush. Can you come get rid of my ants? Can you come get rid of my mosquitoes? Can you come take? And it's going to be 10% off your first treatment. So
Drive. Corey sent me a screenshot the other day. In one of these neighborhood groups on Facebook, a lady posted and said, hey, I just moved to town. I've got some squirrels in my house in my attic that I can't get rid of. Can somebody help me out? And Corey commented and said, hey, give me a call. I'm locally owned and operated. I help get rid of critters just like that. And one of our listeners commented underneath it, yeah, but can you catch a squirrel in a phone booth? Corey screenshot it and sent it to me and said, I think we're going to have to make this happen.
You have to put on a protective suit, right?
Brooks down at the fair, or our buddy Joni Bell, or Joni just won the bid for the new place down there. They're always looking for new, fun, exciting stuff.
But is the fair going to let us put people
wrestle a bear, catch a squirrel in a phone booth? I think these are winners. It's too good.
Do you know how much PETA would protest us if we put a squirrel in a phone booth? Because we'd have that one person that would just start kicking it, right? Just start doing anything it could.
You can't kick a squirrel. You cannot kick a squirrel. No way. You're better. You got a better chance trying to catch it than kick it. You could not kick a squirrel, even in a phone booth. He'd see it coming.
We'd have to have the squirrel in a cage. We'd have to have the person go in blindfolded, right? Now, hear me out. So you have to go in blindfolded. We put the squirrel in the phone booth and then say, okay, remove your blindfold, go. And you'll watch two frantic, one rodent and one person just.
And then imagine, Travis, if it's kind of like rodeo, where over time we realize that certain squirrels are way tougher to catch than other squirrels, right? So, here
comes Sammy. We're putting Sammy in the cage. Sammy the squirrel's up next.
Yeah, and he drew Sammy. Ooh, the 2026 world champion squirrel. This is going to be a tough one. Degree of difficulty just went up a lot for this contestant.
Is this kind of like cockfighting? No, not at all. Not at all. Squirrel shouldn't die. We don't think it's going to die.
Sammy had his tail ripped off back in 2026 championships. Good to see his fluffy tail back.
Grew back. It's amazing. It's a freak of nature. You probably didn't know that happened, folks. People at the fair are listening right now going, this is not going to happen.
Never doing this. You're never putting a squirrel in a phone booth, you idiots. You know what? We'll do it outside the fairgrounds. How about that? We'll talk to Dee's Main Gate. We'll put it next to the tattoo booth that sits on Grand Avenue. Look, you can buy a Persian rug, then you can get a tattoo, and then you can wrestle a squirrel in a phone booth. This is great. We haven't even paid to get in yet.
Now it's gone from catch a squirrel in the phone booth to wrestle a squirrel in the phone booth.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's what it's going to be. Because when you get a hold of it, that's just the beginning, right? Because you got to hold it long. You got to hold it long enough to present it to the front of the phone booth to win the prize, and that's where the wrestling really starts.
Do you have to get that by the neck? Do you got to just hold it?
However you can grab it, man. I think whatever tactic works for you.
A lot of people still coming in on the wrestling say, I'm old enough to remember that watching Iowa wrestlers being aggressive in your face. Now I feel they try to coast to a 3-2 win all the time. It's almost boring. Did you see Gable Stevenson over the weekend? He literally picked somebody up. Call me stupid. Call me stupid. Go ahead and call me stupid.
No, I'm not gonna. Wait.
Why did I think Gable Stevenson had long past the college days? Maybe it's because he won an Olympic gold medal and you're like, this guy's not around anymore. I'm like, Gable Stevenson's still wrestling? And he literally picked somebody up and threw them off the mat and said, okay, come back. Just come back to me. That dude's a beast.
There's a lot of names that should be thrown into this, and I think that there is some recency bias to it, but this just shows how dominant that dude is. I've seen a lot of stuff that's like, man, this guy is with Cael Sanderson as being the best college wrestler of all time. And Travis, when you see a guy do stuff like that, pick up another, we're talking, that's another top 10 ranked heavyweight, and you're picking him up and launching him the way he did. He threw him 4 feet. And then he tosses him, and the guy's still in the air, and he turns back around to the center circle like, all right, let's go back here and wait for him to come wrestle me again.
That was total intimidation, though, right? That is like, okay, I'm going to intimidate you. I'm going to show you how bad of an ass I am.
I don't think it's intimidation. I think it's domination.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that intimidation is like, I'm going to jump, making a guy flinch. No, this is I'm not pretending I'm going to do it. I just did it. I just dominated. He's incredible. It's a lot of fun to watch. There's been a lot of guys. If you ask me who my favorite college wrestler of all time is, it was actually Ben Askren. I never saw a guy score the way that Ben Askren did. It was so much fun. He was the most technical wrestler I ever saw in my life. But man, you got David Taylor. You've had Penn State's had a slew of them. You could pick about 10 Penn State guys to go, yeah, that's my favorite. Bo Nickel, that's my favorite wrestler of all time. Gable Stevenson from Minnesota deserves to be in that conversation. The dude is an absolute animal.
I don't know if you saw this, but this was an interesting story. So the track season has started on the East Coast. And there was a 4x200 high school race over the weekend. 4x200 is is, you got 4 runners. They each run 200 meters. And this is a girls' race, should we say. A girl's going to make a pass. There's some bumping, which happens in sprints. She decides to hold back. They round the corner, makes the pass again, and the girl she's passing, Ross, takes the baton and starts beating her over the head with the baton.
While they're running at full speed.
Yes. While they're running. I've seen a lot of things in my days. I've never seen this before. Like, I'm just going to start beating you with a baton. The girl was disqualified right away, but the girl who took the beating, went to the ground. She didn't get to finish the race. She might have finished second. I don't think she was going to win it. But have you ever seen that where somebody just starts beating somebody up with a baton?
I've never seen somebody beat somebody with the baton, but I do remember, I never saw it. I do remember stories in cross country. When you're out there and sometimes you're literally running on a trail or you're running next to a hillside or you're running next to trees and woods, there are a lot of stories about guys in cross country kind of, they get wide elbows and they start to bump each other off the course, knock a guy down a hill, knock a guy into the trees. That stuff happens, but again, that's more of the jockeying, unsportsmanlike behavior. Nothing. This is abuse. This is when I saw that. I think a lot of us have seen this. It's a shocking video. I mean, girls just passing her on the outside, lane 2. It doesn't even look like she really bumps her. I mean, they're close and just starts wailing on her on the back of her head with the metal baton. Which, why are those things metal?
Shouldn't they be plastic?
Couldn't they be foam? I don't know. There's a reason. Track people are like, you can't use foam. It's not aerodynamic.
Well, think about it. If you drop a foam, it's not going to have the bounce to it, and it might be harder to pick up. Metal might be the better bounce. I'm just thinking out loud here, making stuff up, because I never once thought track would be a contact sport. And you just described it in cross country. How much dirty stuff happens in cross country? Stuff you just don't think about. Oh, you don't know how rough it is out there on the course. What do you mean? You're running 3.2 miles. Shut up, just run. Man, I'm getting my ass kicked out there.
Wasn't it Meatballs, the Bill Murray movie? When Rabbit has to go out and win the cross country race at the end. Remember this?
Was that the Just Doesn't Matter speech? Are you ready for the
summer? Are you ready for the good times? Don't you remember the Bill Murray movie Meatballs?
I remember. It's one of those I think I've seen once.
It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
By the way, what's up with Bill Murray these days? Have you noticed how many interviews he's been doing?
I saw he was on Rogan.
He was on Rogan. He did he's been doing a bunch of talk shows, which is very unlike Bill Murray. I mean, he's like, I'll show up when I show up, but now he's like all visible. I mean, he's like he's out there making himself available.
So are you a Rogan fan? I know they're long podcasts, and it sometimes it takes a while to get through those.
We do a
2-hour podcast every day.
I'm a Rogan fan, but it's not like I don't listen to every single one. It's like, oh, he's on. It's probably more the guest than it is Rogan himself, if that makes sense. So I'm probably geared to the guest more than I am just I'm going to listen to every Joe Rogan podcast.
Well, this is why I bring it up, because when Bill Murray was on with Joe Rogan, he talks about John Belushi, and he says. He watched a documentary about John Belushi. Or no. He read an article or a book that Woodward did.
And he said it was all wrong. And he said
his
Woodward
response to it was,
Nixon.
"Holy cow! They framed Richard Nixon." When he read a book about his friend, he said, "Oh my God, they got every detail wrong about my friend. I knew this guy. They got every detail wrong about it. They framed Richard Nixon." That's how bad the details were in that book. They said, Bill Murray says, the thing that is the biggest misconception about Belushi was that he was some major partier. He was a lightweight, allegedly. Drink 3 beers and be done for the night. Bill Murray says the time he OD'd may have been the first time he ever did speed, which, by the way, do you know the story of the lady who gave him
there's a documentary out there about this.
Is there really? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a documentary about this.
She is the same lady. She dated Gordon Lightfoot, and
Yes.
he wrote the song Sundown about her.
Sundown, you better take down.
And then she ended up getting in the New York social scene and as allegedly the one that gave Belushi the dose that killed him.
Todd says that Bill Murray's going to be at the Valor Ballroom with a blues band soon.
Yep. He's doing that. I don't know what to be. I've seen the tickets floating for that. He's going to be in Des Moines. Yeah.
So just get ready, folks. If you're having a random party at your house, Bill Murray just may walk in the back door.
No, if you want a fun documentary, man, that one on Netflix called The Bill Murray Stories, that is fantastic. Bill Murray's not in it. It is only people, random folks like us, normal Joes, telling these unbelievable stories about their interactions with Bill Murray. Like, I don't know how you can't watch it and walk away from it going, that is a cool dude. That's a guy that really gets it.
You know, because Gene Hackman's been in the news lately enough. They finally came up with a cause of death. I mean, it's not good. It shows you why living a private life can be dangerous, especially when you have Alzheimer's sit in. But Bill Murray talked about Gene Hackman the day he died. And the one movie I totally forgot about Gene Hackman being in is one of my favorite movies of all time, because you turned me on to Wes Anderson, was the Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, dude, I forgot about the Royal Tenenbaums.
You know, he won the Golden Globe for Best Actor for playing Royal
He's
Tenenbaums.
so good in that. How did we not think of that the day we were talking about him?
I don't know. And he said that, you know, he was so difficult on the set that him and Wes Anderson did not see eye to eye because they're two different creative people. But he said it was a difficult movie to make, but at the end of it, he does believe that Gene Hackman watched it and went, oh, that turned out really, really, really good. And yeah, I mean, if you've never seen the Royal Tenenbaums,
that's
it's
a
different.
fun one.
It's different. It's different. But you get through it and you're like, oh, I got to watch that again and again and again. So, wow, good stuff. What do you got planned for today? Anything?
Oh, yeah. Got a dental appointment?
Ooh.
You know, I hate the dentist, dude. I think
At least
mine
you're
is
going to the
I think mine's PTSD because I had braces when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I just associate so much pain with going to the dentist or I haven't been to an orthodontist obviously in a long time, but even going to the dentist, it just, I don't know. I don't know why. I love the eye doctor. I love going to the eye doctor because there's no pain involved. Yeah, exactly. Like the little poof of air in your eye is the only thing that you're like, oh, okay, all right, I'm ready. And then the other part of the eye doctor that's fun for me is, see, when I take my glasses off, I'm super blind. And I can't see the big E. I'm not joking. You know the great big E on the eye chart? When I take my glasses off and I sit in the chair, I have this great picture of my eye doctor pointing at the E and laughing at me. I turn into Chris Pratt on Parks and Rec. Ross, what letter is this? Potato?
Oh, man.
So that's my plan.
Yeah,
Again, a couple things.
Courtney
I'll probably
will be
head up to
happy
the office,
because
do
she
some
can kiss
things.
you again. That gingivitis and halitosis will go away.
What do you? What did she tell you about my halitosis and gingivitis? How did you know?
How often do you go to the dentist? Once a year or twice a year? Or is this the first time in like several years? I'm waiting for an answer, sir. You can't slip behind the microphone and hide.
I don't remember the last time I was at a dentist.
Really? I'm not here to judge because one time I was like, I go every 3 months now. So I go every 3 months for a clean.
Can I tell you what the problem is? Insurance.
That's fair.
Again, there several ingredients in this soup. I'm scared of the dentist because of the PTSD, so I don't want to go. It's expensive because I don't have dental insurance. And Yeah, so there you go. There's 2 reasons, and then I do brush and floss, and so I usually don't have much tooth pain, but I chewing the other day, I was like, oh, I feel that. That isn't good. And then I saw a video about how some guy died one time because he ignored tooth pain, and it ended up getting some brain disease from it. And I'm like, oh, I better get to a dentist here. I got enough brain diseases. I don't need another one.
See, what you need to do is come over to my neck of the woods where they have a dental school and just let the students work on you. It's a lot cheaper.
Do they take out-of-staters?
I'm sure they do. I can ask.
Mike says he flew to Puerto Rico, paid cash for a root canal, and it was cheaper.
Yeah, but you still got to get the flight to Puerto Rico. You got to spend some time.
Yeah, but then you get a
San Juan.
vacation out of it too. I mean, it's kind of like a 2-for-1.
It says, Justice, quit being stingy. Give Ross dental insurance. We're not developed as a company that far. We're all self-insured at this point. Okay, we're all self-insured.
I thought he was suggesting that you just adopt me, make me a dependent, and then put me on your insurance. I mean, Trav, it's not that different to have 7 people on your insurance than 6. It's not that more expensive.
But now that you have a pre-existing condition, I may not be able to get you on the policy.
Crap.
I
shouldn't have admitted it.
Policy. I'm gonna skip the show tomorrow if that's okay. So Justin's gonna come in tomorrow.
Get Justin back in. Well, that'll be good because I can get Justin's reaction to all sorts of stuff. He was down at Arch Madness, obviously. We can kind of break down some of that stuff. And then you're going to be gone on Friday also, and then next Monday, right?
Yes. No, next Tuesday. I'll be here next
Tuesday. Okay.
So I'll be gone. I'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, and then Monday, but I won't be here tomorrow, Friday, or next Tuesday. It all works out. The show will be here regardless.
We're gonna be here every day. Justin will be with me some days. We're gonna have fun.
So if you missed any part of the show, going to be up on the podcast at therushradio.com. You can always listen live. It'll be on the stream here very, very shortly. And also go back to the YouTube channel, like this video, give the channel a subscription, and Ross and Justin will be here tomorrow at 6 a.m. It is the Rush Radio Show.
Hold on. Before we sign off here, you asked me what I'm doing today. I'm going to the dentist. What are you doing today while you're in Florence?
I'm going to go on an aperitivo tour, so I'm going to go drink and eat. I'm going to drink and eat. That's what I'm going to do.
You're going to have like the greatest ham in the world. You're going to have...
Yes.
What's it called?
Prosciutto.
I knew that prosciutto. I thought that it was pronounced a different way. You sent us a picture, dude. It kind of looked like it didn't look appetizing, but you said it was the best ham you've ever had.
It was, and it was from the cheek and the jowls of a pig. But we got to take a break because we're going to stop recording. Sorry.
All right, buddy.
It is the Rush Radio Show at therushradio.com.
Spring is in the air and the perfect time to take care of your vehicle. Your car has worked hard all winter. Now it's time to give it the care it deserves. Did you know spark plugs should be replaced every 60,000 miles on some newer turbocharged vehicles? Also, carbon deposits on the valves can disrupt the airflow of the engine. These simple services can keep your engine running smoothly, ensure you start every adventure with confidence. Visit Willis Chevrolet today and make sure your car is ready for the road ahead.
I'm loving these wooden nickels, Brian.
Yeah, I suppose everyone is catching on.
Just spend $20 to get a wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings on your next purchase.
Some of these are worth $5. That could be huge.
I know, right? That's why you have to spend $20.
It's 25.
Collect 10. It's like money back to you.
Spend 20, you get another wooden nickel.
It's 25.
Collect 10 and add up the savings. It's huge.
Central City Liquors, home of the 10% cash coupon.
And the wooden nickel program.
It's huge.
Do you have a pest problem? With over 20 years of experience, Bats and Bugs Pest Solutions is Central Iowa's local expert in fast, effective, eco-friendly pest solutions at a fair price for your home or business. Call us today at 515-218-3400.
Believe it or not, spring is coming. When it does, be absolutely organized with custom garage or closet systems from Absolute Garage & Closets. Turn a winter mess into a spring success at our showroom in Urbandale or visit absolutegarage.net.
The largest selection of German beer in the world? You'll find it at the Hessen House. From Doppelbock to Oktoberfest to Hefeweizens and Dunkels. There's no passport needed for the deliciously different beer and food at the Hessen House. So grab your friends and make it a fun night out. The Hessen House, 4th and Court, Des Moines.
Okay, get rid of the lower third. Oh, get rid of that. Get rid of that. You put there, see, go to the rush radio, there you go. Then hit back on the other one, and then on the graphic, it'll take you to the other one. So if you go down, the little arrow, you can kind of tab through. Down on the graphic, so where you're presenting, there should be a back arrow. You can go to the other graphic. You can control the graphics, so you can. Yeah, hold on. I can't open my mind. Okay, hit stop stream. Yep. No, I'm on both. On both butt and. No, hit stop. Hit stop. Okay, so if you go, you know where that's full screen down below where that graphic is? Where it's, so if you hover over that, there should be like arrows. So if you went back there, see that controls what, that's how you can do it. But that's fine. That's fine. But that will be in your thing tomorrow. So you can use these tomorrow since it's uploaded to your computer. It'll automatically be in there. So if you go to present, go to PDFs and slides, that will already be in there. You can bring it up in your present thing. So, all right, cool. We'll talk to you later. All right, talk to you later. Bye.